1918, war in the world rages on. Germany is on the offensive, and no one can be sure it won't defeat the Allies and march into Paris. Europe is exhausted. For nearly 4 years, the First World War has chewed through an entire generation. Trenches stretch from the North Sea to Switzerland. France is bleeding. Britain is stretched thin. Russia has collapsed into revolution and exited the war entirely. For the first time, an Allied defeat feels possible. And across the Atlantic, the United States just begins preparing the military for direct involvement. America watches the war from afar, a rising industrial giant, wealthy, powerful, but reluctant. President Woodrow Wilson had won re-election in 1916 with a simple promise. He kept us out of war. Most Americans wanted Europe's war to stay Europe's problem. But history had other plans. The United States had enough excuses to enter into World War I. It was pushed by events that made direct involvement harder and harder to reject. Ultimately, of course, it was a political decision. From the start, America traded heavily with the Allies. British blockades limited trade with Germany, while American factories supplied Britain and France with food, weapons, and loans. Officially neutral, the U.S. economy was already leaning toward one side. And Germany wasn't blind. In response to Britain's blockade, Germany turned to a new and surprising weapon, the submarine. U-boats prowled the Atlantic, sinking ships without warning. In 1915, a German submarine torpedoed the British ocean liner Lusitania. Nearly 1,200 people died, including 128 Americans. The outrage was immediate. Newspapers demanded action. Germany backed down temporarily, promising to restrict submarine warfare. War was avoided, for now. But the tension never disappeared. By 1917, Germany was desperate. The war on land was stalled. The British blockade was strangling German supplies. German leaders made a calculated gamble: resume unrestricted submarine warfare and cut Britain off from American supplies, even if it meant provoking the United States. At the same time, another bombshell exploded. British intelligence intercepted a secret German message to Mexico, the Zimmermann telegram. It proposed a military alliance. If the U.S. enters the war, Mexico would attack America and in return, regain lost territory in Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. When the telegram was made public, American opinion shifted overnight. This was no longer a distant European conflict. This was a direct threat. Simultaneously, Russian implosion, that culminated on March 15th in the abdication of the Tsar Nicholas II, could potentially change the balance in favor of Germany. Russia was in a state of chaos. The Tsar has abdicated. Soldiers were losing motivation and discipline. The front line in the east was moving faster and faster in favor of the Germans. Meanwhile, a Bolshevik movement, although without much popular support, was becoming more bold. Ultimately, after the October coup, they seized power. We know now that Germany financed Bolsheviks and Lenin in the hope of weakening Russia and reaching a peace deal in the east in order to move the troops to France. It was in this context that on April 6, 1917, the United States declared war on Germany. But declaring war was the easy part. Taking decisive military action was something else entirely. The U.S. Army in 1917 was small, inexperienced, and unprepared for modern industrial warfare. America had no trenches, no experience with poison gas, no understanding of the brutal reality waiting in France. Yet America had something the exhausted Allies no longer did: fresh manpower and industrial power. Millions of young men were drafted into the army. Ships were crossing the Atlantic Ocean in endless convoys. Great Britain and France were desperately waiting for the Americans. By 1918, more than 2 million American soldiers, the American Expeditionary Forces, led by General John J. Pershing, were arriving in Europe. And they arrived just in time. In the spring of 1918, Germany launched one final, massive offensive. With Russia out of the war, German troops were transferred to the Western Front. The goal was simple: break the Allies before American forces could fully deploy. German artillery thundered. Their armies advanced rapidly. Paris was once again under threat. This was the moment the war could have been lost. But the Americans stood. At places like Château-Thierry, Belleau Wood, and Cantigny, U.S. troops met German veterans head-on. The fighting was brutal. Casualties were staggering. But the Americans did not break. At Belleau Wood, U.S. Marines earned a fearsome reputation, halting the German advance in savage close-quarters combat. French officers reportedly renamed the forest in honor of the Marines' brigade. The psychological impact was enormous. For the first time in years, Germany faced an enemy that was not exhausted, one that was growing stronger every day. By summer 1918, the balance had shifted. American soldiers arrived faster than Germany could replace its losses. American factories outproduced German industry. American money stabilized Allied economies. The war that had once seemed endless now had an expiration date. In the fall, the Allies launched a coordinated counteroffensive, the 100 Days Offensive. German lines collapsed. Morale at home crumbled. Hunger spread. Revolution loomed. And the revolution finally broke out in Germany. It began with sailors refusing orders and ended with proclamation of the Republic. It was the end of the German Empire. The German authorities were forced to sign armistice. On November 11, 1918, at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the armistice went into effect. The war was effectively over. The United States had not fought the longest. It had not suffered the most. But its entry proved decisive. America tipped the scales. Yet the story does not end there. President Wilson arrived in Europe not just as a victor, but as a visionary. He proposed a new world order based on self-determination, diplomacy, and collective security, the League of Nations. His famous 14 points promised a peace that would prevent future wars. But at home, support collapsed. The U.S. Senate rejected the League of Nations. America turned inward once more, retreating into isolation. And the peace imposed in Europe after the Treaty of Versailles planted the seeds for something far worse. Some have been predicting that already then. French General Ferdinand Foch was supposed to say, "This is not a peace, it is an armistice for 20 years. And history proved him right. 21 years later, the world would be at war again. United States, too, would enter the war, but as always not right away. World War I has confirmed America's arrival as a global power and the hegemon of the Western world. U.S. involvement before entering the war and after was decisive for the outcome of the Great War, as they called it then. And once the United States stepped onto the world stage, it never truly left. If you liked this video and want more content like this, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Write your suggestions for the next topic. Thank you for watching.